Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for attending. We're here to recognize Officer Justin Fong Borton. Today we have us from the Safari Lane Group, Ed Hinchy, Howard Johnson, also Chief George Turner, Assistant Chief Sean Jones. We all recall on June the 4th, not too long ago, Officer Fong Borton responded to a call that resulted in him being shot. Just by the grace of being fortunate enough to wear his body armor as our policy dictates, he is here today. At this time, I'd like the Safari Lane Group, Ed Hinchy, to step forward to make a few comments.
Thank you very much, Sergeant. Hi, I'm Ed Hinchy. Thank you so much for allowing us to come here today to recognize Officer Fong Borton. The Safari Land Group's SAVES program has been in existence for close to 50 years. And what we do is recognize officers whose armor and gear saved them from serious bodily harm or death in the event of a critical incident. And that's exactly what took place here. As always, when we get to come in, it's humbling that we get to meet the command staff, the officers themselves, hear the stories about their family, and it makes us understand how important it is every single day that everything we turn out into the field does its job perfectly. And we can control that end of it, but it's always with great respect and admiration that we recognize the command staffs of the Atlanta Police Department. Their selection process begins what turns out the most professional officers in the streets. Their guarantee that they're going to have the equipment to get the job done was never so focused as it was when it brought Officer Fong Borton home. And it was just a little piece of that. His department, his partners, his training all kicked in. And at this time, we'd like to bring Officer Fong Borton up here in front. Thank you so very, very much for being here. Congratulations. We've got a few things for you here because as your command staff did tell us, you're going back to work. That's the whole idea here. And it's one of those things you're going to be working traffic and midnights and shifts. Yeah. You are officially saved number 1,951. So congratulations on that. So there's a ball cap. Your shirts are embroidered with your name and your save number right there. They told me you'll be working some long shifts and overtime, so we got your coffee mug for you. All the saves that we get, and this is very serious and important, one of the first things they want to do is get back on the range. Their training kicks in, they feel that, you and I discussed that. There's a range bag to go there with you, again, emblazoned with your name and your saves number. One of the most important things that I can present to you is the hard-earned Safari Land Challenge coin. Right now, there are 1,951 of these in the field. It says Safari Land, together we save lives, and that slogan is separated by spent casings from ammunition because we know the job that you're asked to do out there and what you faced in the street. It's got our Impala and the American flag in the background, and as you turn it over, it's got the Purple Heart Medal that you're qualified to receive. It's got the crossed swords, a male and female officer back to back, and a tactical team holding down the fort. And again, the continuation of the American flag. I present this to you today.
Thank you.
This is one of those things, carry it with pride.
Yes, sir.
You certainly earned it.
Thank you.
And Chief, one for the department and one for Officer Fong Borton. And what it says is the Safari Land Saves Club, presented in recognition and appreciation to Officer Justin Fong Borton, Atlanta Police Department, save number 1,951. We salute your heroic courage and valor in the line of duty. Chief.
Great, thank you.
Congratulations to your department. Justin, congratulations to you.
Thank you, thank you.
I'm going to turn this over to you now.
All right, thank you. I'd like to thank everybody for showing up, being supportive. Show up to work, we do our job. They tell us, nothing is no day is routine. You have no routine call. And, I come to work, do my job. I'm only as good as my support, my chief, command staff, backup. I'm just grateful from having my training that, when that incident happened, everything was able to kick in and become second nature versus me stepping up trying to decide and figure out what I'm going to do. It's good to have that good training, being able to respond. I appreciate everybody for their support. Thank you.
Right.
All right.
Let me just take a quick moment to just really thank Officer Justin Fong Borton. He really got back to work and began to do the job that I hope you still love.
Yes, sir.
And the afternoon actually, that I was able to see him at the hospital, he was a little shaken. He said he was a little shaken, but you could see that he was extremely shaken. But his training kicked in, and ultimately his vest saved his life. I'm confident in that. He was a recipient of our Purple Heart this morning at our Crime is Toast breakfast. I'm extremely proud of him, and one of the things that we constantly talk about is how we get our officers back to do this work. And the President's Task Force 6-pillar talk about health and wellness. And I'm confident that our peer program, peer-to-peer counseling, as well as our EAP and our chaplain program, who are all there at the hospital with me, I hope was able to help you get back on the streets.
Yes, sir.
And so with that, I am extremely proud of you.
Okay.
His commanders are here, and thank you guys for the work that you were able to do to get this individual off the streets who ultimately fired at you that day. Tremendous opportunity for you all to show the leadership that you continue to show, and the backup officers. So with that, we'll take any questions, but we are extremely thankful to have Officer Fongberg with us today, prepared to continue to work in the streets of Atlanta.
And we have one last part of the presentation. Sure. This is the entire command staff chief. Howard Johnson's here. This is his actual replacement armor as required by the Atlanta Police Department that he be presented with. And we want to make sure you go out just as safe as you were the first time.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
That up so everybody can see that.
Great. Any questions at all?
Chief, can you talk about the importance of officers wearing body armor and just...
Well, I'll tell you a quick story. I came on the Atlanta Police Department 35 years ago. We did not have the luxury of having a bulletproof vest that was provided by the city. As I was sworn in and went to the streets, my wife of now 36 years said, well, where's your vest? Well, they didn't provide a vest. And I'll wear a vest if they give me a vest. And that's what I said. And so from that time forward, when the city began to issue bulletproof vests for us, I began to wear our vests. I wore that vest until I became one of the command staff members. And my wife would always ask, where's your vest? And I would say, it's in the car. And it wasn't until when Major Barney from Riverdale was shot and killed, really just coming up on a scene as a command staff member in Riverdale. I had the opportunity to see one of my friends, Colonel McDonough with the Georgia State Patrol, the next day. And of course, if you know Colonel McDonough, he always wears his vest. And I said, Colonel, you make us look bad. He said, well, we have to lead from the front. And so from that day forward, I have continued to wear my vest. I'll always wear my vest if I'm in uniform. I think it's really that critical. These guys around here know that what my statement has been around wearing vests, but that's their choice. Our SOP is clear as relates to administrative officers and command staff, but my preference is to wear this vest because I think it's part of what we have to train and teach our officers to do. We don't know when that situation might occur, that this vest will save our lives. So.
Question for the officer.
Sure.
Yes, sir.
Would you kind of just take us back to the moments when you had that encounter and when you talked about things just going back to your training? Take us back through what happened and how you react now looking back on 2020.
Yeah, when the call came up, initially it wasn't an immediate sense of urgency. It was, well, we have to get there, but it wasn't that someone's life is in danger. So to get there and have one mindset, and then in a split second when the situation changes, being able to choose the right force, being able to respond correctly, and return fire. It was frightening, but like I said, it becomes autopilot when you have the training, and then afterwards you sit back and it's playing in your head a million times, and you think about your loved ones, you think about things you want to do or you have done, and but just grateful to be here.
The gunfire, describe how that hits you and then the ramifications on your protective piece of armor.
Yeah, the bullet struck maybe like an inch, maybe a little bit more from the bottom of the vest. So it's right at the bottom. Initially, it felt like a small sting. Then I respond. You know, got to keep going. Can't just stop and take a bullet. Got to return fire. As soon as I get to cover, then the pain hits, and it's like, oh, that's reality. It feels like a sledgehammer, and then, you know, get on the radio, start communicating, giving out the descriptions, giving out my location, and go from there.
Any more questions?
Let me just publicly thank Safariland. Thank you all for what you do for law enforcement around our country, and I appreciate the work that you do.
Thank you, Chief.
Absolutely.
It's a humbling honor.
I've got one additional question, Chief.
For me?
Yeah, for you, Chief.
Yes.
We did a story yesterday in looking back on this crazy gas station shootout, and your folks recovered from that scene some 7.62 rounds or whatever that was part of that reconfigured weapon. That kind of weapon on the street, just like the officer said, you might go up and you're going to get gas. It's supposed to be a normal situation, and all of a sudden that kind of gunfire comes out. Can you talk about the efforts right now to even go beyond
Sure.
the vest that he was wearing?
Right, and the truth is, the next protective level of vest that our mayor and the city council just approved for all of our sworn officers to carry, it would be a vest that'd be able to stop that particular round that you just described, as well as those rounds that was used against the officers in Dallas and also in Baton Rouge. It's an opportunity for us to have the appropriate cover for our officers so that they can respond and survive this fight that we find ourselves in. I thought that YouTube video and that particular shootout was typical of what we're seeing on scenes.
Really?
Multiple rounds that's being fired. Not all of the homicides that we're seeing, but we're seeing that similarly, not just in Atlanta, but around the country. I was fortunate enough to be in a conversation last week with the FBI director, and I sat next to Eddie Johnson, the superintendent of Chicago, and of course Michael Rollins, the police commissioner in Memphis. And just sitting and having conversation with those particular chiefs, they are seeing even greater things that we're seeing in the city. Multiple weapons at multiple scenes, 50, 60 rounds being fired at a time. We have to really do some of the basic things that I believe that's really paramount for us to move forward in a reasonable society. We've got to do a better job of doing background checks. Those are easy things, in my opinion. We've got to do a better job of stopping these straw purchases that are taking place throughout our country. And then we've got to prevent people that are on our fly list, on terrorist list, from purchasing. Those are easy, in my opinion. Those are the comments that I made to the FBI director when we talked about how we kind of push back from this violence that we're seeing. As you all know, when you cover these stories, these situations do not occur in affluent areas. It's a social challenge that we're finding throughout the entire city. And I think that's the same narrative that you're seeing around the country.
Chief, body cameras, can you talk about that?
Absolutely. I believe that the body cameras that we will be implementing and placing on our officers, hopefully before the end of September, will start at the airport and also in Zone 4. Our intent is before the end of the fiscal year, which will be June of 2017, that we'll have all of our field officers outfitted with body cameras.
All right, thank you.
Chief, just one more question about the body armor that's being replaced. How many officers are going to be getting new body armor, and can you just
A difference now.
Okay.
The body armor that we wear every day, all of our officers already are deployed with body armors. All of these white shirts that are standing here that not necessarily wearing their body armor, they have body armor, right? So the vest that we are in the process of purchasing is a high profile. It is a help me.
you're looking
level
at
4
rifle
vest.
plates to
For
threaten
special
others.
situations.
It's for, yes, so these vests will be available for the officers to have. They will not wear these vests on a regular basis. When they are a high-level threat, they will then place that vest on top of the vest they presently have, and then it will give a different level of protection.
Chief, you're a longtime law enforcement professional. There are departments in this state, around the country, that do not require their officers to wear body armor. Can you talk about that in terms of your views as a chief?
Well, I think what we've got to do is try to find a way that in these small cities that are challenged financially, that is not a financial burden. That this has to be the minimal standard for officers that are working in our streets around the country. Thank you all.